Louis Whitley Strieber began his professional life miles away from the paranormal. Raised in a devoutly Catholic family in Texas, he moved to New York City in the late 1960s to build a career in the high-stakes world of advertising. By the late 70s, he had left the corporate world to write fiction. He quickly found an audience by exploring the macabre, writing best-selling horror novels like The Wolfen and The Hunger. His livelihood relied entirely on his ability to invent terror. He spent his days constructing fictional monsters and engineering psychological suspense from the safety of his own imagination. Strieber was a man whose professional identity required absolute control over the mechanics of fear. That makes his sudden, complete loss of that control highly unusual. On the evening of December 26, 1985, while staying at his isolated cabin in upstate New York, Strieber experienced an event he could not explain. He recalled waking in a state of paralysis, surrounded by an unnatural light and small, non-human figures. He detailed this trauma in a 1987 memoir titled Communion. The book spent months at the top of the New York Times bestseller list and firmly placed Strieber at the center of the cultural conversation surrounding alien abduction. Communion reached millions of readers and was quickly adapted into a major Hollywood film, with Christopher Walken portraying Strieber's intense psychological struggle on screen. Skeptics immediately challenged his account. They pointed to his history as a horror novelist, suggesting his mind had simply blurred the line between a vivid hypnagogic hallucination and reality. Critics highlighted inconsistencies in his past statements to undermine his credibility. For years, Strieber had claimed to be a witness to the tragic 1966 University of Texas tower shooting. In Communion, Strieber admitted he was never actually on campus that day. He theorized that his detailed, false memory of the shooting was an alien-induced screen memory, a psychological mechanism designed to mask a deeply repressed childhood abduction. The fallout from Communion left him wealthy but mocked, burdened by a traumatic experience he couldn't fully explain. For nearly 40 years, he searched for a definitive answer to who these visitors were and what they wanted from him. In 2025, Strieber published The Fourth Mind, a book that attempts to finally resolve the biological and cognitive mystery surrounding these entities. In January 1996, the Brazilian military locked down sections of the city of Varginha to execute a highly unusual, rapid retrieval operation. Locals reported encountering a cornered, terrified humanoid. Its skin was not the smooth texture of popular fiction, but a slick, oily biosynthetic film that reeked heavily of ammonia. Eyewitnesses described 3 distinct protrusions on its head, framing a face dominated by massive, glowing red eyes that seemed to freeze anyone who looked into them. The military immediately denied the event, suggesting the witnesses were simply confused. Yet the highly specific anatomical details recorded that day match a much broader, deeply classified history of biological recoveries globally. Despite decades of official dismissals, the sheer consistency of these physical descriptions points to a concrete, biological reality living and breathing alongside us. This sealed 1947 affidavit from Walter Haut, former public relations officer at Roswell, outlines a classified meeting regarding recovered debris. In paragraph 13, Haut admits entering a secure hangar, observing child-sized bodies hidden beneath a canvas tarp, noting unusually large heads. Decades later, another document surfaced online, allegedly authored by a molecular biologist working for a national security contractor. It details the extensive study of what the program calls exobiospheric organisms, or EBOs. The leaked report describes a biology remarkably similar to the Varginha entity. It notes the famous gray skin is a biosynthetic suit, their blood is a copper-based brown, and their hands feature 4 highly flexible fingers that all function as thumbs. Genetic analysis reveals that their DNA is compatible with human cellular machinery. This deep biological overlap points to a shared cosmic lineage. Yet their brains command advanced telepathic networks that allow them to heal themselves and manipulate our physical reality, abilities that modern humans appear entirely unable to access. If our genetic makeup is so closely aligned with these visitors, why are our minds locked off from the powers they display so effortlessly? Author Whitley Strieber argues that our ancestors possessed these exact mental faculties, leaving behind massive physical structures that defy our understanding of mechanical force. Look at the foundational blocks of the Baalbek ruins in Lebanon. Some of these stones weigh up to 2 million pounds. No known historical engineering technique could have lifted them from their quarries and set them perfectly in place. We see the same impossibility halfway across the world at Nan Madol, where a massive complex of islands was constructed from 750,000 heavy basalt blocks. Eastern traditions describe cities, dormant human abilities to manipulate subtle physical energies. These ancient disciplines suggest our ancestors could move massive matter simply through concentrated intention. This power briefly resurfaced in the 20th century. A slightly built man named Ed Leedskalnin single-handedly quarried and arranged thousands of tons of rock to build Florida's Coral Castle, notoriously refusing to let anyone watch him work. The global distribution of these megaliths points to a forgotten era of human history. We once built our world using mind-based technology, long before we were forced to rely on combustion and fire. What kind of planetary event is violent enough to strip an entire species of its highest cognitive functions? The geological record points to a specific window 12,000 years ago, during the onset of the Younger Dryas period. Triggered by immense cosmic impacts, the global climate swung violently, leading to the sudden, cataclysmic collapse of the Laurentide Glacier into the ocean. The fallout was apocalyptic. Raging wildfires choked the atmosphere with smoke, and sudden, impassable floods wiped coastlines clean. Human populations plummeted worldwide, and organized proto-civilizations were obliterated. Faced with starvation and a hostile, unrecognizable planet, the survivors had no energy left for higher mental pursuits. Every ounce of human effort was redirected into brutal, daily physical survival. The catastrophe destroyed our ancient infrastructure and inflicted a deep psychological trauma on humanity. We suffered a species-wide collective amnesia, permanently severing our connection to our own cosmic powers. Today, we are a fractured species, interacting with visitors who exist in the exact state of awareness we lost. The abilities observed in these visitors, telepathy and mind control, are the exact same biological and energetic functions as the ancient human cities. They map to identical physiological pathways. The entities recovered at Roswell and Varginha are not invaders mapping out a conquest. They are observers, watching a traumatized species struggle to navigate its own development. They are watching us at a critical moment. Modern Earth is facing a period of severe environmental instability that terrifyingly mirrors the collapse of the Younger Dryas. These visitors act as a cosmic mirror. They show us what we used to be and highlight the precise mental evolution we need to survive our impending global crises. Trying to engineer our way out of environmental collapse with better physical technology is only a minor part of the solution. The major step requires an evolutionary leap in consciousness. Strieber defines this leap as awakening the fourth mind. It requires reigniting the dormant telepathic abilities that allow us to communicate and operate as a unified collective. We must move past ego-driven isolation. By stripping away historical trauma, we can intertwine our thoughts to form a single, massive network of human connection. Reclaiming this deep empathetic unity is the only practical way we can heal our communities and ensure our survival as a species. The visitors exist as a reminder of our history, forcing us to recognize a version of ourselves we spent 12,000 years forgetting. While these claims push the boundaries of conventional science, Strieber is no longer a lone voice in the wilderness. High-level figures in intelligence and academia are taking his framework seriously. Jacques Vallée, acclaimed computer scientist and prominent UAP researcher, has publicly endorsed the book, noting that Strieber's work forces crucial questions into the public eye. Similar validation has come from former CIA officer Jim Semivan, who called it a vital text for understanding the visitors, and from mentalist Uri Geller, who praised its biological analysis. This renewed credibility is drawing large audiences. In March 2025, seekers and skeptics alike packed a sold-out presentation in Sedona to hear Strieber detail the fourth mind. The fourth mind is not being dismissed as the latest science fiction from a horror writer. Experts who study anomalous phenomena are treating it as a legitimate framework for understanding non-human contact. As climate volatility increases and the risk of nuclear conflict persists, Strieber argues that we are approaching a point where our current level of intelligence may no longer be enough to ensure our survival. His warning is blunt. Our collective amnesia has left us dangerously unequipped. We lack the cognitive tools necessary to navigate the breaking points of the 21st century. This reframes the entire purpose of the visitors. In this view, they are not here to conquer or experiment, but to observe and remind us of the abilities dormant in our DNA. Humanity's survival may depend on shedding the trauma of our prehistoric past. Only by reclaiming the fourth mind can we move past our survival instincts and finally take our place as a fully realized cosmic species.